everyone, I'm JD from Willow Journals. Welcome back to my channel. I am a journaler, journal maker and teacher of journaling courses, and today we are up to day 19 of the Inspiration Journal course, where I'm showing you how I made this collage art journal and sharing my process page by page so that you can follow along at home and you can do that self-paced. These videos will be on my channel forever so you can always come to these videos whenever you need some journaling inspiration. So today our collage prompt is poetry, and I have some pages from back when I studied a Master of Writing and Literature. These are printouts or readings and lecture notes from different classes that I did, and I didn't keep all of them. I just kept two of my favorites from my favorite subjects. So going into that Master of Writing and Literature, I thought that I would want to write in all genres. I thought I wanted to dabble in children's writing, non-fiction, fiction, poetry, screenwriting, all different types of writing I thought I wanted to do. But actually, when I took this course, I found out that my heart was with non-fiction in particular, so life writing and memoir writing, and I particularly fell in love with the personal essay and the subject creative non-fiction. So basically creative non-fiction is writing true stories but employing all of the techniques of fiction writers to tell that story, to bring it to life, and to use characters and scenes, setting and imagery and all of that kind of thing to bring to life your true story. And I don't know, I just really loved that. And another subject that I really enjoyed was poetics. So this one was more about poetry, but what it taught me as well was just about language in general and how we can use words to present imagery and to help readers to enter into that world of the writer and to help make them feel whatever it is that the writer is feeling. And so I just really loved that subject, poetics, because poems really show how words and writing can be used to its greatest effect. So I haven't really been much of a poetry lover in my life. I was one of those kids at school who sort of had to read poetry because the teacher told us to and didn't really understand the poems, that kind of thing. So then when I took this poetics subject, I really enjoyed it, to my surprise, I guess. I still am not a huge poetry lover, but when I did find poems I liked, I love those poems. And so I've just got two poems here that I kept from that class that I in particular liked. One of them is called Mushrooms by Sylvia Plath, and I just really liked the playfulness of it, the humour in it, and the unique way of looking at mushrooms, of all things. How mushrooms can just be such a mundane thing that you don't even take a second look at or a second thought thinking about them. But this poem kind of made me see mushrooms in a fun, playful way, in a unique, different way, in an original way, from the viewpoint of Sylvia Plath. And I don't know, she used a language to do that. She used the form of a poem to do that, and the techniques of poetry to do that. And to me that just showed me, I don't know, just the value of poetics, the value of poetry, the value of putting down the way you see something in a way that conveys it to your reader, in a way that helps them see it the way the writer sees it. So I got to see it how Sylvia Plath saw it, and that inspires me to also look at the world differently, to pay attention, to not just take things for granted, but to see things in new, unique, original ways, type of thing. And then another poem that I kept here was called Barbarian by Arthur Rimbaud. I'm not sure how you say that, Rimbaud. And I don't know, again, who knows why something speaks to you, but this one of our poetry assignments that we had to do, or one of our poetry exercises that we had to do, was take a poem and then yourself kind of use it as a template and write your own poem using that as a template or using it as inspiration. And so this was the poem that I chose for that. And so I think I kept it for that sentimental reason, because I wrote my own poem inspired by this one. And just the different ways of writing, the different ways of telling a story or sharing an image, the way that writers can do it in such different ways. Like, there are such different poems out there. And I love that. So I just stuck down both of those poems directly onto the page. These were the kind of things that I had in one of my folders. I just have random folders where I put things in the plastic sleeves from various times of my life. Maybe some pamphlets or brochures, or schoolwork that I did, lecture notes, readings, all that kind of thing. And I'll just keep the ones that are my favorites. I don't keep every single school book or every single lecture note. I used to, but when I moved house, I decluttered and pretty much got rid of all of my uni and school books, but I kept my favorite things just to be a reminder of those times in my life. And because I'm super sentimental, I wanted to keep some pieces of those times in my life. But yeah, they were just sitting in a folder, these types of things, these papers, documents, and not really doing anything with them. So again, this inspiration journal is the perfect place for those types of things, because now I can enjoy them as I flip through the pages of this journal, instead of being hidden away in a box or in a filing cabinet in a folder. So this way I get to decorate my pages using them, and then I get to write about them, and they're documented and preserved in my journals. And then over on the left hand side page, what I do is add the first lecture notes for like a page from our first lecture notes for Introduction to Creative Nonfiction. And that's just there to remind me that that was my favorite subject from my Master of Writing and Literature. And yeah, that's right there. Like, I don't even have to write about that, how that became my favorite subject. Just having that in my journal reminds me of that. It's there, it's documented, it tells a piece of my story and shares a piece of who I am, and I love that. That's there. And then the other thing that I added to the left-hand side page is one of my blackout poems. So this is your journaling prompt as well. You could just write out a poem that you like, or find a favorite poem and write your poem on the page if that is something you want to do to add your journaling, or maybe you want to print it out and stick that on the page. But if you want more of a challenge and more of a creative challenge for this journaling prompt, try your hand at a found poem. So there's many ways to do this. I love doing blackout poems in particular, where you get a book page and then I use like a black Sharpie, a black permanent marker, and then I black out any words that I don't want to see, so that what words are left are the words of the poem. So you're finding a poem in the words of a book page. And I don't know, that appeals to me because I guess I love reading and writing, and using a proper book page to find a poem just feels really cool. But there's other ways you can do it. You can get magazines or books, cut out words, and then assemble the words into a poem that way. So yeah, cut out a whole bunch of different words, and then select and arrange your words onto your page to create a poem. And your poem could be 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines. It doesn't have to be this huge, long poem. But it's really fun doing this as a bit of an experiment, because sometimes if you're anything like me, you're like, I don't know if I'm going to get anything. Like, it's just going to be gibberish. It's going to be blank or gibberish. And it's amazing though, if you persist and keep at it, it's amazing how what the words you find in the poem that you find, it obviously, well, for me anyway, it relates to where I am. It connects to where I am. So I guess if I'm trying to find the words to articulate how that happens, it's like your brain just naturally makes these associations and finds meaning and connections naturally. So as you're looking for words, you'll pick up on words that you are, going to currently connect with. So every time I've done one of these poems, it feels like it's speaking to me. It feels like there's a little bit of wisdom in the poem, or a little bit of self-expression, that when I read it back to myself, I'm like, oh, so that's how I'm feeling. Oh yeah, that is how I think. Or yes, that is what I'm going through right now. And it's just amazing how each time I do a poem, I can look at a page of words and just be like, oh, I don't know, this is too hard, I can't find anything. But the longer I stay with it, the more my brain or my eye just is naturally drawn to words that speak to me. And then the brain is just amazing at making its own connections and associations, and puts it into a sentence or a poem or a paragraph, and it will make sense to you, and it might not make sense to anyone else. They'll read your poem and they might be like, what is this? But to you, you're the one choosing the words, so obviously they have some sort of connection to you. So my blackout poem reads: alone in privacy. Whisper, search, answer, laugh, tell, ask in a journal. And what that means to me is that in the privacy of your own journal, you can do all these things. You can whisper to your journal, you can search for things in your journal, you can find answers in your journal, you can laugh, you can tell things to your journal, you can ask things of your journal, ask questions in your journal. And I love that. It's just a poem about all these things that you can bring to the page. So that is my blackout poem. I also have another blackout poem that is part of the freebie. So if you would like to download that, that's available on Buy Me a Coffee or Patreon. On my Patreon, there's also the journaling video for this course, and that's where I will read out my favourite poem. And I'll chat a bit about that, and hope you enjoy that reading. So if you want to check that out, I'll see you over on my Patreon, and the link is in the description box below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys. Special thank you to all my beautiful patrons who supported in May. Thank you for allowing me to do this for another month. I hope you absolutely love being a patron and all the extra rewards you get over on my Patreon. You get access to extra videos and printables and personal updates, first access to my journals, and much more. So if you'd like to become a patron in June, feel free to check out the link in the description box to my Patreon.